If you don't know, Arc Raiders is a game that I'm highly looking forward to, and they dropped another update on the Discord. We got two posts here to go over. One was at 2:52 Eastern, and the other one was after that, of course. So this says, "Hello Raiders, we're back with a community update on the progress we're making. In the chat with design director Virgil, we discussed the core design pillars, choice and agency, fidelity and depth, and risk and reward, and how they help raise the stakes in Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders is, at its core, a game about taking risk, balancing risk and reward, or what we call high stakes. It's standard practice in game design, but it finds its peak in the Rust Belt. It's a cornerstone of our gameplay mechanics, and those high stakes influence everything from the items you bring with you, the noises you make, the fights you pick, and the places you dare to go. The dangers you face and the choices you make to overcome them should always feel worth the rewards they yield. In a session of Arc Raiders, the clearest way we communicate risk is through the map screen. It highlights areas where you can expect to run into a greater Arc threat, either through numbers of type, but have high concentration of valuable loot. Players naturally gravitate toward these hotspots, often leading to encounters with other raiders. From data in TT2, we could see that these high-risk areas were doing their job. They drew in more traffic, provided the best loot opportunities, and generated more player collisions. We did find some discrepancies that are being improved on now, like locked rooms that didn't provide enough value for the rarity of their keys and the difficulty of getting into them. We also saw high-risk areas which had great loot without a matching Arc presence. We're adjusting Arc spawns to give players a suitable challenge if they get there first. The data also revealed unexpected hotspots, places we didn't intend to be frequented by players. We're investigating what drew players to those areas to find out what made them so interesting. Rather than trying to remove those points of interest, we're working on applying additional level design to enhance and embellish them as worthwhile areas to play in. That's kind of cool. They notice that people, for some reason, like this one area, and they're like, we're going to go ahead and add something to make that area worth being in, instead of you guys just wanting to be there. And probably it's like an open area. I didn't get a chance to play in the last test, so I'm not sure. I wasn't selected, unfortunately. But I'm sure it's like just like a large open area where there's like a lot of cool places you can maybe duck behind and get some good fire in, something like that. An example of something, or maybe just the scenery was just cool. An example of something we utilize when trying to analyze and understand player behaviors are heat maps, like the one picture below, which shows player movement activity in the dam for the duration of TT2. Tools like these help us determine where the majority of activity took place and enables us to balance the risk and reward of each area appropriately. This is just one of the ways we can use a heat map. For example, comparing this to heat maps of Arc behavior can help us determine places where the threat is too high or too low. We also maintain heat maps for spawns, deaths, loot actions, Arc spawns, Arc deaths, PvP damage, PvE damage, extraction starts, successes and failures, and so much more. As we continue on our journey towards launch, insights like these are vital in making sure we ship the best possible version of Arc Raiders. We can see we have Queen and Harvester, not a lot of people there, but the control tower was busy, the testing annex was busy, the water treatment center was busy, the hydro domes were busy, and the generator complex was busy. So maybe the Queen and Harvester was just kind of harder to get to, or just harder, a boss you had to fight and it's harder to fight. They say another high-stakes situation in every trip topside is how to find your way back to Speranza. It's time to extract, and once again, you'll turn to the map. Our main extraction points have no direct cost to use, but they draw a lot of attention from both Arc and other players. The longer you stay in the session, the number of available extractions steadily diminishes. Ultimately, it's up to the player to decide whether to chase more rewards at the cost of fewer and riskier ways out, or to escape safely with lightsaber bags. Lightsaber bags. Of course, there is another way to extract Raider hatches. Hatches require hatch keys, which must be purchased, crafted, or found. The cost of using hatches means we can make them relatively quiet, quick, and place them in areas with less foot traffic. From data in TT2, we saw that these hatches were a very popular choice. In fact, high-level players use hatches a whopping 40% of the time. This is far more often than intended. Hatches, while safer, are also just more boring to use, and they provide a 3-for-1 deal when extracting with a squad. We want heart rates to go up when trying to extract, and that can't happen when you can always quietly drop into a hole in the ground. This means we need to rethink how hatch keys are acquired and make sure that using one is a choice that needs to be carefully weighed and not something you can rely on for every extraction. I knew that was coming when I saw them talking about a whopping 40% of the time. I'm like, oh, they're getting ready to do something with these hatches. Probably make them in more harder to get to areas. Maybe make a loud noise or set off an alert. when the hatch has been opened. Leading up to launch, we'll continue to refine and balance extractions, loot areas, spawn locations, drone compositions, and the many other things that one can encounter topside. A well-balanced mix of risk and reward is at the core of the heart-pounding experience we plan to deliver with Arc Raiders. Every decision you make and every second you spend outside of Speranza should feel important because each one could seal your fate. The Arc Raiders devs team. And they showed some just some areas and the thing. So that's pretty interesting. They're taking a real look at how players are moving around the map, what they did, how they got out of the map, and looking at if that's something they want to do. People kind of I think people like the game as it is. I have to look at some videos of those who are able to play it and see what their full impressions of the game are. If it's something that if they had some change they wanted to make. I was just kind of going off of like a lot of the trailers and some gameplay, watching some people play, but not necessarily the deep dives into the game and seeing where improvements could be made at. There are people that were talking about some of like hit markers and stuff like that could change, or people want the view to be different. One of the reasons I'm drawn to Arc Raiders is because of that third-person view and how just the game looks overall. So, kind of excited to see, or curious to see what they're going to do with the hatches, how they plan to make these new areas that people were crowded around, that surprise them, more enticing to be around. Give people a reason to be there instead of just being there, and what they plan to do on making the other locations worth being at. They just said they're going to do it, but they haven't talked about how they're planning on really fixing it. The game comes out in a few months, I think in October. So it could just be something they already have in motion and they're just putting out this right now until they have it locked in. But hopefully we'll see soon. Like I said, it's not long away. A couple of days, it's August. So then just chop chop. All right. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in Raiders, let me know in the comments if this is a game is one you're looking at. I haven't really played too many extraction shooters like that, but it was something about this that really grabbed me. So let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you guys in the next one.